Going to call to order the Monday, April 22nd, 2024 regular meeting of the Jersey Shore Area School District Board of School Directors. Can I have a roll call, please, Mr. Enders?
Mr. Allen.
Present.
Mr. Bengard. Here. Mrs. Calhoun.
Here.
Mrs. Edwards.
Here.
Mr. McDonald.
Here.
Mrs. Peters.
Here.
Mr. Furman.
Here.
Mrs. Thomas.
Here.
Mrs. Stemler.
Here.
All nine members present.
Next, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm going to call forward Mr. Jean to introduce our students this evening.
Good evening, Board. It gives me great pleasure to introduce two students from Avis, fourth graders. Can I have Nathan Falls and Charlie Smith come up?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good luck at baseball.
Next, we're going to have approval of the minutes. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion.
Second. Which of you would like to say?
I think you have.
Okay. Are there any questions or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say aye. Motion passes. Moving on to the treasurer's report. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or concerns?
I'd just like to point to the board that we did do an investment here in March for the three officers. I have one for you to sign. We have another maturity coming here at the end of May. We'll look at, see how cash flow is. We have a large subsidy coming in June 1st. We can do that. We may do another investment at the end of May. Like I said, we'll keep an eye on cash flow and go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Enders. Hearing nothing else, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the bills. May I have a motion, please?
Motion. Second.
Any questions or concerns?
Give me 1 second. Bills are slightly up this month. Reviewed the bills. Couple of things to point out to the board. We had our special ed contract with the IU payment that was just shy of $132,700. Sugar Valley March bill was $114,359.56. We did buy iPads with one of our grants to Apple. That was just over $450,000. Second payment for our bonds were paid on March 1st. That's $140,643.40. For the new board members, those are interest-only payments. We have a big payment that's due September 1st. That is the combination of principal and interest. So the March payments are interest-only, September payments are principal and interest. Then the major reason that the bills are up this month is our quarterly PSERS payment for our employer portion was paid. That was due March the 20th. That was $1,685,615.21.
Thank you, Mr. Enders.
So nothing unexpected here, it's just,
Nothing
it's just as
unexpected.
when, this is when it's due.
So,
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Enders? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Under communications, Dr. Ulmer.
Nothing under communications this evening.
Okay. Under the president's report, we had an executive session prior to tonight's meeting to discuss legal and personnel. The intermediate unit report. Jesse.
Everybody should have an update in front of them tonight. It's a brief summary of what we discussed at our last meeting. The first talks about the teams from Athens area and East Lake Cumming, Jersey Shore area, Montgomery area, Montoursville area, Southern Tioga, Sullivan County, Willsboro area, and Wyalusing area school district participated in its 7th annual regional KNIX STEM Design Challenge on April 9th. The competition tested the skills of 20 teams totaling approximately 70 students. Each team of 4 members had to create a blueprint, build a prototype using KNIX kit pieces and recycled materials, and present their prototypes representatives from Crescent Ridge Farm, DCNR, Lycoming College, Pennsylvania College of Technology, and West Pharmaceutical Company participated in judging the teams. On the K to 21st century learning skills included creativity, teamwork, challenges, success, design, and participation. First place teams included the Cranberry Cruisers from Athens Area School District, 4th through 5th grade, and the, oh my gosh.
I'm going to go with Agri also.
That's what, okay.
That's what I would say.
Of Willsboro Area School District, 6th to 8th grade. These teams will be advancing to the state finals in Harrisburg on May 3rd. That is all my report.
Okay, thank you. Student representative report, Kate?
I have no report.
All right, thank you. Superintendent's report, Dr. Ulmer.
I'm going to start this evening by representing Dr. Christina Steinbacher-Reed from IU 17, and she has members of her team with her this evening, and she is going, the presentation that she's going to give is also in hard copy at your board seats.
Thank you, Board of Directors, for having me tonight. Before I get started, I would just like to recognize the team that is joining me. I have Mr. Tim Comfer, our Director of Technology, Mrs. Rebecca Gibbony, our Director of Educational Planning that was overseeing the competition that Jesse was sharing, and Sarah McNett, our Director of Management Services. Unable to join us is our Assistant Executive Director, Dr. Brooke Biter. She got a call from the Department of Education. There was a need that the IU is working on filling for our school district, so she sends her regrets. And our Director of the Region-Wide Area Network is also unable to join us tonight. So thank you on behalf of BLAST for the opportunity to share a 10,000-foot view of BLAST Intermediate Unit. Our vision is transforming lives and communities, and we take that vision quite seriously, and we also couldn't do that work without our school districts and our families. A little bit about intermediate units. We are one of 29 intermediate units. Blast is the largest geographic at 4,000 square miles. Think of us like a school district, but we are across 4,000 square miles. And our students are predominantly special education students. We service over 3,500 special education students. And then we also service many other students in different programming. We were created, intermediate units, in 1971 as an act of the General Assembly. We've been around for a long time. We have been partners to our school districts. We were created to serve districts. We do not exist without our school districts. At Blast, we provide services, educational services, to 19 school districts, as well as our non-public schools and our charter schools. What services do we provide? They could best be broken down into our divisions. Student services is predominantly special education services. We provide services age 3 all the way to 21. Our educational planning provides predominantly professional development to teachers, support staff, as well as administrators and superintendents. Our technology division offers a number of services, including website design and hosting. The region-wide area network provides over 1,000 miles of internet fiber that's connecting 15 school districts to a region-wide area network. And our business services that supports all the functions of the intermediate unit as well as our school districts to serve as a resource of support. I won't read through all of these, but this gives you a highlight of the programs through student services. Age 3 through 5-year-olds can receive services through early intervention. In the school age, K-12, we have a number of special education classrooms, some of which are housed here in Jersey Shore, and we thank you for serving as a host to those inter-district classrooms. The program that is expanding the most is our mental health services, our partial hospitalization program. We run one in Bradford County as well as Lycoming County, and that is where we have seen the most increase in enrollment and continued need as we look into the future. In our educational planning division, professional development is the focus, as well as contracted curriculum writing, curriculum support, and that is also the division that houses our Equip Online Learning Academy, where we support districts with creating their own cyber options for their students. In our technology division, I mentioned website design. We also offer a number of specialized services and network and server solutions, as well as creating our own software. The region-wide area network, you can see a map of our network. This has been around in concept and in a different, when we started out, it was actually in 2006. So we've been around for a long time at this business, and it's continued to grow. We service 15 school districts on the RWAN. Most notably here, and you will see this is an earmark of all I use, is that we work with districts to get consortium pricing where we can get, we can leverage buying power, if you will. The more we can have school districts come together, whether it's through an insurance consortium, an RWAN consortium, or any other programming where we can get more volume, that helps lower cost for school districts. Phone systems, we have state-of-the-art phone systems at quality, with a quality and cost-effective, and then cybersecurity and data hosting centers. And our business services provide a number of supports in addition to keeping all of our wheels moving at the intermediate unit. I just want to recognize the partnership that we've had with the Jersey Shore Area School District. I would like to thank the Board of Directors for that continued partnership. This is just one small moment of many where we have an opportunity to gift adaptive bikes to students across our region. We've gifted a number of bikes, adaptive bikes, and adaptive strollers, as well as voice equipment to students in Jersey Shore and across our region. So thank you for your continued partnership. And again, I end with, we would not exist without the support of our school districts and the partnership. So thank you. That concludes my official presentation.
And I just want to say thank you for being here. We do a lot of work with IU-17, and I know I had this question from a board member early on in when some of you sat here, what does an intermediate unit do? And I tried my best to answer it, but I knew that Dr. Reed would do a much better job answering it than I would, and at least I hope tonight you got a picture of what it looks like, what we get from an intermediate unit, and what our partnership looks like. And you see the team sitting in front of you, but some of them spend a lot of time in and out of buildings helping do professional development or collaborating with our team as we work with people around the region that do similar jobs. That is one thing that I appreciate from the intermediate unit is I go there and have meetings with other superintendents, and our principals have meetings with other principals, and I see Chad shaking his head. He meets with other tech directors, and I know Jody meets with their special ed directors. It is helpful to have those conversations, and they're facilitated by the intermediate unit. So thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Ulmer. Thank you to the Board of Directors.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have also on tonight's agenda under my report for presentation policy 008, the organizational chart. And that is on there because of an update. I failed to do it until now, update it to reflect the director of CTE as a standalone position. So it's on there. That's the only change. You're not voting on it this evening, but if you see anything that sticks out to you, let me know before I put that back on the agenda. And then I need the device. I am going to talk about policy 903, which is public comment in board meetings. I put together a review for all of you just to walk through the changes in the revised public comment policy. First of all, there are some language clarifications. The board president in this new version of the policy does have the authority to expand the comment period in a meeting, clarifying that the second public comment period is for items of other concern or district matters that are not on the agenda. We've always had 2 public comment periods, but the policy didn't clarify what the second one was for. Now it's clearly clarified. There's also dialogue in this revised policy clarifying when the board president has the authority to interrupt someone's public comment, and there's a specific set of reasons for that. Again, this policy is attached. It outlines the process of a meeting and of public comment. First of all, that there's a sign-in procedure, and that is required in order to talk at the first public comment. There is clarity on us announcing the directions for public comment and using a timer. We are planning to do that on the screen as we have done, but it's now clarified in the policy and the rules are established. Meeting notes, our meeting notices will indicate that the meeting is being recorded in alignment with the clarified language in the policy. And if you've been paying attention, that edit has already happened so that we are in alignment with notifying people that we do record our meetings. Board meetings, and it clarified in that policy that board meeting minutes will note the name of the person and the topic of what they talked about, because we have had questions about, well, I said this and it's not in the minutes, or I said that and then that's not in the minutes. The policy clarified language from PSBA dictates name of the person and the topic of what they presented. There are clarity around what is and isn't allowed to happen in public comment. And some of those things I added here. You cannot give your remaining time to another person. There are restrictions on someone using both public comment periods. It's not intended to get 3 minutes at the beginning to talk about an agenda item and then get 3 more minutes for that same agenda item later, which is why they're clarifying the first 3 minutes is for the agenda items. The second 3 minutes is for non-agenda items. They're not intended to be added together. The solicitor, I went too far. The solicitor now in the clarified language, PSBA is pointing out in the law that the solicitor has the same authority as the board president to stop someone's public comment if they met one of the specified reasons for stopping the comments. That was not clear before. I'm pointing out the specific language that's in the policy clarifying that the purpose of public comment at board meetings is to allow the board to learn thoughts of the public prior to the board deliberation or official action. The public comment period is for you to hear what people think about what's on the agenda, and that's clarified in the legal language. It is not, and the policy clarifies this, not a question and answer. Questions may be asked, the answers may not be readily available. We do intend to answer, but it may not be that day, it may be clarified later in a presentation. It also clarifies that complaints need to follow the chain of command, that the public comment period of the board is not supposed to be the airing of grievances, that is the intent of those complaints are to go through the chain of command, which is also established on the board, on the website. So I wanted to review those so that you could see what changes are addressed. The policy attached is the mocked-up version, so you can see where the changes are. If you have questions about those, please let me know prior to the next meeting, because it will be on for a first vote. All right, then I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Enders to give his budget presentation. While he's coming to the podium, all of the documents that he's going to reference in his presentation.
Here's currently the revenues in the budget are just shy of $46.8 million, and the expenditures are just shy of $47.8 million as well. The budget deficit currently sits at $982,965. Second slide in the budget presentation is a representation of the fund balance historically. I won't go down through the numbers aspect of that. Currently, to start this year, we are looking at just over having just over a $7 million fund balance. That's the combination of the unassigned fund balance and the fund balance committed for PSERS reserves and health insurance reserves. So those years ago, way back, the board took direction and started committing fund balance for future PSERS increase. To date, those funds have yet to be used. Okay, so those are essentially sitting there as a savings account for you. Our unassigned fund balance at the start of the year is $4.4 million. Utilizing that fund balance to pay for the just shy of $1 million deficit, our fund balance at 6/30/25 would be $3,441,600. At 6/30/25, the overall fund balance with those commitments would be $7,071,600. The good news for you, board, is that as a percentage of budgeted expenditures, and that's one of the major things that our auditors look at, we have 7.21% of our fund balance as a percent of our budgeted expenditures. One of the things that PD recommends is an 8%, so we are just below that right now. And then if you look at the total, the unassigned and the commitments, we would be at 14.81%. Going backwards, if you look at our audit presentation, the auditors would find that to be a healthy fund balance. We will talk about the future at the very end, because I did provide a projection, a long-term financial outlook that Mr. Broomgard requested back in January. So we will get to that point at the end of the presentation. Any questions regarding fund balance or where we sit right now? Revenues by source, we are pretty consistent as a percentage where our breakout revenues are. We have local revenues of just over 42.5%. Primary source of revenues for the district is the state, 55.71%. and we get a small amount for federal sources of 1.62%. Those other sources there, that one that just puts a tick on the mark, that's the sale of miscellaneous items that we put on the municipal bid. So we budget $5,000, which apparently is 0.01% in our fund, in our budget. Real estate taxes, again, this is more for historical purposes. It shows, there's a bunch of information, a bunch of percentages there. I want to focus on the last, going back to 2021, so it'll be the last 5 years. The yellow bar is the index. So currently this year our index is 7.3%. You can see where our index has been over the past several years. The bars next to that is the actual actions that the board has taken in regards to real estate taxes. I can tell you on all of them, but the one that shows an increase, we went to rebalanced, okay? Which essentially rebalanced by the state because we're a multi-county district. The state says at the beginning of every year, we have to rebalance your last year's tax millage rates. So it looks at assessed values and says, okay, well, this one should have, this millage rate should have been a little bit higher based on the state tax equalization board assessed values that they provide us. So that's the first thing that happens. We typically do rebalance our tax rates year over year. So in every one of those years we rebalance. You'll see the end results of what happened in those. Some years the counties go up a little bit, some years the counties go down a little bit, but that's what happens when you rebalance. Some years it's zero. The 1 year that you do see that we did increase taxes a little bit, that was 22, 23, we went to 25% of the index. For the new board members, and you'll hear this a lot next meeting, we are going to talk about real estate taxes. Once one county hits the index, you're done. So you can see back there a few years before that, you can see we were raising taxes to the index a couple of times, but both counties didn't go to that number. Because as soon as one county hits it, it's done, you're over with. We take this very same approach, we took the same approach when we raised taxes to 25% of the index. As soon as the one county hit that 25% number, we said we were done, and that was the end result. Changes in state revenue. Our revenues do show an increase. As I told you, I believe at the last meeting, the budget currently reflects the governor's proposal. We are showing state revenue increases of about $730,000, primarily in basic ed subsidies, $581,000, and there was an uptick in the retirement subsidy, which is just a natural increase due to the cost of retirement going up. Analysis by object. Salaries and benefits have been consistently at 70% of our budget. I think they were 70% since the day I started, and I think they were 70% a little bit before that. Going around the ring, professional services, those are our contracts, contract services, contracts with the IUs. 400, which is our property services, that makes up 2%. Those are our utility costs. Other services, which is 10%, that's primarily our charter school cost. Supplies are self-explanatory. We do have equipment budgeted, but it's so low we don't even have it doesn't even trigger a percentage on there. Other expenses, this is primarily made up of two things. One being the contingency line in the district-wide budget, and two being the interest line for our bonds in there. Those are the two major things in other expenses. And other uses is the principal payment for our bonds. Very similar pie chart. This breaks it up into more of the area within the district that the costs are. Instructional or direct classroom expenditures. So those pencils we buy are in instructional costs. Support services are basically everybody you see sitting in this room, our administrators, myself, our librarians, special ed. Non-instructional services are primarily the athletics, and other financing uses there again is primarily our bonds. This is a new chart this year. This is one that was requested. This is salary increases by the different groups. Teachers increased about 3.75%, administrators just over 3%. Our maintenance and custodians are 3.32%, secretaries and aides are about 3.46%. This is comparing where our budget is for 24-25 versus where we're projecting these expenditures to be for 23-24. This would bring into play the hires that we did this year. So I didn't want to compare it to 23-24 budget because all those hires were unknown people. Now I know who they are, I know what their salaries are. So we actually looked at the current projected salaries for this year and compared it to where we are for budget for next year. This does take into consideration the retirees we have this year. So that's in that math. I want to say one other thing about this, and I totally slipped my mind. I'll think about it. Debt service, primary thing I want to show you in debt service, this shows that this is a chart of our debt service payments, is right here. Quinn, a red dot does not work on a red background. Quinn and I were testing out a laser pointer in there. 25-26, please don't be alarmed about that huge increase. I got about 2 more slides and I'll get to it. I can tell you that your net debt payment is $2.5 million and it fluctuates about $2,000 year over year. So yeah, that's showing a huge increase, but I'll show you the other side of it that's going to bring that into about $2.5 million. Just a bar graphical representation of the same chart we just looked at. This is our debt limit. Please understand, Dr. Ulmer and I have had 0 conversations about trying to get to our borrowing capacity. That's the biggest summary of this slide. That's our $85 million, $840,000 debt capacity we could borrow. This is what brings our debt cost into consistencies. Is you'll see in 25-26, our subsidy payment that we will receive from the Commonwealth increases to almost $800,000, which brings down that increase in the cost. Going back to our costs being consistently costing us about $2.5 million each. Our debt costing us. This is going back to 1982, where you'll see PSERS rates have been. I've highlighted where they were this year. You will see a 1% decrease in PSERS for next year. Everything going out into the future, I'm going to go to the next slide. There's the future rates. They're all provided to us by PSERS. So that's not something I just make up. That's what they are providing us when they give us the annual rate. I will tell you the past 2 years when it did decrease, they were projecting us, if I would look back to the year before, an increase. So I don't know, I don't make the numbers up, I generally use what I'm given. So charter schools, this is a graphical, historical perspective of our charter schools. You will see we are showing about $3.8 million costs for charter schools this year. That is budgeted to go down to 3.3. Our budget does reflect the governor's proposal for an $8,000 flat tuition statewide for regular ed cyber charter schools, which is why you'll see an increase in Sugar Valley and a decrease in the cyber side. So it is there for the new board members and for some of you other ones that didn't realize it. At one point in time, the state did give us a subsidy for charter schools, and that ended in 10-11. Graphical representation of the chart we just saw. Historical data on enrollment. This does project out enrollment next year of just over 2,100 kiddos. That is considering kindergarten registration at April the 8th. All historical numbers in there are all of our 10-1 counts. So they are our October 1st official PDE submissions. That's where we always put them, utilize for them. Any questions regarding the presentation? I'm going to go over to the long-term financial outlook sheet of paper that I provided you. We have used this document in the past. We have changed how we're doing it. So I'm going to more focus on the assumptions. The assumptions are the long-term financial outlook shows no tax increase for 24-25, 25-26, 26-27, and 27-28. Board, I did stop at 27-28. At the end of 27-28, at that point in time, you only have one employee under contract. That's your superintendent. So at that point in time, I thought it doesn't make sense to start going further out. It does show, and this is one of the changes we made to this calculation, a 2% revenue growth in earned income tax, real estate transfer tax, basic ed subsidy, special ed subsidy, vocational ed subsidy, and all the recurring federal dollars. That would be Title I, Title II, Title IV, and Perkins. Similar to in the past, it shows no changes in expenditures other than salaries and benefits. Going back to some of the conversations about debt, I did not go in and project out our debt payments because, like I said, they've only fluctuate $2,000 year over year, so that's not going to make a big difference in this projection. Does assume a 3% increase in step movement where applicable on all expiring contracts, and it does bring into consideration the following attritional or teacher retirements. At the end of 24-25, Dr. Ulmer and I have met and discussed this. He just looked at seniority charts. We're looking at 5, at the end of 25-26, 6, at the end of 26-27, 6 more. And then it does show a health insurance increase year over year of 4.75%. That number is the average when you take out the highest and the lowest over about the last 8-year period is where we've been. I will tell you, I'm a little concerned that the health insurance increase is a little bit low. We had an 8.5% increase this year, and we just had a health insurance meeting this past week, and health insurance is pretty much the current industry that is getting whacked with inflation. So with that being said, primarily looking at your deficits, you have a $983,000 deficit this year. It's growing about $500,000 year over year, $400,000 to $500,000, which is consistent with the growth we saw this year. Looked at those fund balance numbers, you go from 14.81% down to 2.63% at the end of 27-28. Are there any questions?
Well, I have a question for the board. Where are we getting $982,000? We need to start looking at cutting other things. For instance, we discussed iReady. What are some other areas we can look at to get a little closer on our number here? Somebody must have some ideas.
Well, on this chart, you're taking it out of the fund balance. How he has it figured here, he's taking it out of the fund balance.
Yeah, but that's not a good practice, because in 4
No, I
years,
agree
our
with you.
fund
I'm just
balance will
making-
be zero. Let's start with iReady. Anybody thought about the iReady discussion? It's almost $80,000 on technology.
No, that's not the iReady, it's the other one, isn't it?
No.
iReady, I thought was only 40.
No,
You have
it's-
two of them out there. You have
iReady
iReady.
is like 80,000.
He's right, iReady is 80,000.
Oh, okay, the other one is 40.
Thought we were waiting on a presentation from the superintendent on that.
Yeah, I'm just bringing it up because this is a big deficit, bigger than we projected. Do we need to look at each department and see where they can trim? Like, do we really need a new van this year? Is our van still running in building and grounds? I know they want one.
One of the,
You know, and I'm sure we could whittle it down more, but we need to look at this a little closer than just assuming that these numbers are good and saying, okay. I think.
so I'm hearing more information on iReady, more information on the van.
I think we should maybe think about it, come back in the next meeting. There's a lot of ways maybe we could cut the deficit, some big ways we could cut it. I've been through this so many years that I've gone through so many scenarios here, but I do know one that we could possibly, there was an $80,000, I think Chad put it in for the auditorium sound system. I know I went to the girls' basketball game there, and Anne Marie Ditcher came through very clear. So I'm not so sure that's one of the things we might need. But, and I'm sure the other budgets are, teachers and principals have them cut pretty well bare bone there, so going through it, I didn't see too many things that we could really look at. So it might be a good idea to come back maybe the next time with some, look over the budget and maybe come back with some ideas.
Ben, historically, when we've had we've been projected a deficit, and the audit is then done, how many years have we had to borrow from the fund balance in the last 5?
I know last year you did. I'd have to go back and look. Well, Glenn, can you get me back up? So looking out back at these graphs, this is the revenue and expenditures, and these prior years, these are actual numbers. So just looking at it, 2021 we came out ahead, 21-22 we came out ahead, 22-23 we came out at a loss, and 19-20 we came out ahead. So going back to those past 5 years, it looks like it was one that we've borrowed.
Can I suggest one that's not popular? I mean, I know it's not popular. But can we look at a scenario of, Mary, you're gonna be so mad at me. With the required credits to graduate, maybe we cut it back.
Courses and required credits, which is, that would be one of them, I would think so also. Mary might be
I
an
mean, I'm
expert
not
on
saying
that.
do it, what would it look like? Can we see what it would
It's
look?
not something that you're going to do, it's not something you're going to do in a hurry. You can always look at it. But it's not, cost-wise, it's not gonna change much. You still have the same numbers of kids. There has to be coverage for them.
I was
And I'm not saying don't look at it, I don't mean that, but I'm just saying it usually doesn't give you much.
okay. I, can we just look at what it would look like?
I wrote it down.
Thank you. Sorry.
Well, and I'm looking also, folks, at, yes, we have a deficit, yes, we can borrow, but we also have building and grounds. How much do we need on other buildings that we have that we need to fix stuff? So shouldn't we be trying to cut so that we can actually do some of the stuff we need to do to our buildings? Versus just borrowing and saying we're good, why don't we see what we can trim so we can actually fix some stuff that's broken? Instead of kicking that can down the road farther. That's,
Ben, you said we were going to have another conversation then about taxes at the next meeting, correct?
Yeah, that's our budget calendar shows. This next meeting, we typically bring to you what happens if you would increase real estate tax to 25% of the index, 50% of the index, 75% of the index, and 100% of the index. I have had a request to show that number at 1% tax increase. So I'm gonna put that into that scenario as well.
Will that also show just rebalancing?
Yes, I do also show, I actually show 25, 50, 75, 100, rebalancing, no increase to Clinton, no increase to Lake County. Because you can do a no increase, as some of you remember, I can show you a no increase to Lycoming County in the past, and it shows a decrease to Clinton County because of this whole rebalancing aspect.
And will that also include the homestead, farmstead from last year, right? Because you don't have this year's numbers yet.
So Homestead Farmstead is supposed to be released May 1st to us. That's what's in law. I'm expecting that by May 1st.
May 1st.
I will tell you, the governor has certified an increase in Homestead Farmstead this year. I think it's $150 million is what was been certified. The good news there is I believe it said that it was certified in a conservative manner that it's sustainable for, they said, 4 to 5 years. So that was good news from what I saw.
So, reminder, last year we had an increase as well.
I believe the increase wasn't last year. I believe the increase was in 21, 22.
I think there was just a small one, but the
Small
bigger
one, but the big one I believe was in 21, 22. I could go look at that computer. I could tell you what year it was.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's my presentation.
Next, we will have courtesy of the floor. I have a few people signed up. First one is Rita. Please state your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Address, like township or the whole address?
Either or.
Excuse me. My name is Rita L. Macy, and I'm from Limestone Township. And I'd like to say good evening. I'm the parent of 2 high school students, one in regular ed and one in life skills. I've been a Jersey Shore school bus driver for 8 years. Beyond transporting students to and from school every day, I've also had the joy of transporting them to sports events and other activities over the years. This year, I was honored to transport a team to Warrior Run High School. It was only their second time ever traveling to a competition. Like all teams, they practiced after school, learned skills that they would apply in competition. formed friendships, and made memories. Sounds pretty typical. What set them apart is that this team was comprised of regular ed and life skills students competing as teammates. This new Bulldog team drew sizable crowds. We got caught up in the intensity of the competition and cheered the successes of all participants, Bulldog or not. By now you figured out what I'm talking about. Unified Bocce Ball. Since day one, my 9th grader has had dedicated, talented teachers and support staff in the Jersey Shore School District. But he never had a coach or an opportunity to ride a bus to another school and compete as a Bulldog. This year, he hit the jackpot with Unified Bocce and 3 outstanding coaches. In 1975, the United States Congress enacted the Education for All Handicapped Children Act. The Department of Education website states that in 1990, EHA was reauthorized and became known as the Individuals with Disabilities Act, or IDEA. This law makes available a free, appropriate public education to eligible children with disabilities. In 2004, the IDEA was reauthorized, and in 2015, Congress amended the law through the Every Student Succeeds Act, stating, quote, "Disability is a natural part of human experience and in no way diminishes the right of individuals to participate in or contribute to society. Improving educational results for children with disabilities is an essential element of our national policy of ensuring equality of opportunity, full participation, independent living, and economic self-sufficiency for individuals with disabilities." Unified Bocce Ball is a means by which students with special needs may be partakers in aspects of a well-rounded education that had previously not been available to many of them. Thank you, members of the Jersey Shore School Board and Dr. Ulmer, for your support. Of course, Unified Bocce needs no justification. It's a varsity sport approved and recognized by PIAA, and it is a partnership between the school district and Special Olympics of Pennsylvania, who generously donated a court and provided a stipend for the coaches. The officials and announcers are volunteers, and there's a booster club in the works, and many others are eager to help meet the needs of this team. I encourage anyone inclined to question the value of this sport to attend a match next season and see the awesomeness for yourself. Come see how the Unified Bocce Bulldogs roll. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Elijah Almasi. Hi, Elijah.
Hello.
Hi. Are you able to state your name for me
Yeah.
and your address, please?
Okay.
Okay.
My name's Elijah Macy. I got my new friends at Bocce. We had a good time. I did a great job. Thank you for bringing a Bocce to Jersey Shore.
Thank you, Elijah. We're glad that you're enjoying it. And next we'll have Susan Seacrest.
Hi.
Hi. If you can state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Sure.
Okay,
Susan
thank you.
Seacrest, Anthony Township. Good evening. I'd like to share with you that bocce is an amazing sport. My son Tate had the honor to participate on the team as a partner this year, and it was a great experience for him and our family and our community. He had so much fun and developed so many friendships with his partner and the whole team, and he even got to know some of the athletes from another team. There was a team from Shikellamy, and they were pretty amazing. They won our district competition. But there was a student on that team that just loved to rub it into Tate, that his team was actually the top dogs, and they were really good. So he got to develop that friendship and connection with students from another school as well. Our team, I'm very proud to say, one of our teams placed third at districts this year in our very first year ever in competition. We could not be more proud of them. Great job. I'm pretty sure that at every single game I cried happy tears. I would see a hug, a smile, or a secret handshake. And there was one in particular that Tate and his partner did, and it was lock in. You would lock in, you would focus, and you would play like a champion. Almost every athlete shared that their favorite memory was meeting new people and making new friends, or a specific memory about their partner. And one of the biggest memories was of it coming down to the golden frame, which is like an overtime. And there was, in our very first match, it came down to the golden frame, and it was pretty exciting. Bocce is an amazing sport that unites athletes and partners of all abilities. It fosters a community of inclusion and respect, a culture where others are valued for their differences and unique abilities are celebrated. Everyone is included and is part of the team. I look forward to cheering for our future bocce teams in the years to come. We are so lucky in Jersey Shore that we have so many great competitive sports teams. Our football team is very successful year after year. Our girls softball team right now has won every single game except for one, and our baseball team is also doing really great. And now we can include Unified Bocce as part of the amazing sports that we have here at Jersey Shore. Oops, lost my spot. So yeah, we're just very privileged to have a team here. So please continue to support and encourage our coaches and our athletes as they continue to build and offer this sport for our students. Come to a bocce match, wear your orange and black, and cheer on the Bulldogs. It is really something special to watch. Just make sure you bring some tissues because you'll be overwhelmed by the amazing things that you see, the friendship, the inclusion, and the love. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we will move on to personnel. Items to approve, A through K. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. There's nothing under curriculum and instruction. Under buildings and grounds, I believe I'm turning this over to Dr. Almer first.
You are board members, you should have at your seats, there are 3 documents. I did give you, if you are interested in reading it, the colored document that looks like this is the background and the guidelines for the public school facility improvement grant. So if you're interested in what is allowable and what that process looks like, that's all there. The other 2 documents are what I created. The multiple page document is a current draft of the grant itself. This is not what is submitted yet, nothing is submitted yet, but you'll see the information that they're asking for and what Mr. Wall and I are putting together to submit. But I created the 1 page for you to see. Essentially what we did was we took the items that were on our Buildings and Grounds Committee priority list, and we looked at what qualified in the grant, and we're still working through the grant, but I've had multiple meetings with SiteLogic, there was a training last week with DCED and representatives from PDE talking about the specifics of this grant. So I took the priority list and then pulled off of our priority list what was eligible, so you can see there. We have the CTE shop ventilation system that we've discussed at the board level. We have the domestic water, hot water heater at Saladiesburg Elementary. And then at Avis, we have unit ventilators, air handlers, and exhaust fans, all written into this grant. And you can see there, the total work submitted will be $915,000 of total work, which means that if you read the grant document, we have to match 25%. So we would be obligated to $228,750. And then if fully awarded, the grant would benefit the district $686,000. What I'm learning as I'm going through this process is pieces of this project could be approved and pieces could be denied. We could be fully funded, we could not be funded at all. But I'm hoping as you look through this, I have made a couple outreaches. You'll notice that part of my submission will be letters of support from legislators. You can see on the draft document that it actually points out when you put in the addresses of the sites, which representatives and state senators are part of that district. So I'm also asking for letters of support. You can see the timeline at the bottom of the page. Currently have a draft. I have consulted with SiteLogic and Mr. Wall. We're currently in the middle of looking at this as a board. Once I get some more pieces of information, I'll finalize the draft. The reason I'm doing all of this is because part of the submission that is required is a board resolution saying that you're in support of this and that you will commit the funds to match to the grant. I have to have all of that submitted by May 31st, so you will see this on a May 6th board agenda. And I will note that attached to I don't think I attached it. But it will be, the resolution will be on an update prior to the board agenda on the board meeting on May 6th, so that you can see what you're committing to and what we have to submit at the board level. Questions about any of that? Anything you would like to say as the chair?
Just that, the Building and Grounds Committee had a meeting tonight with SiteLogic and, Dr. Omer and Mrs. Demler. And we went over some middle school repairs. And I think we ended up deciding that the committee itself, along with a few other people, need to have a meeting. I think we're gonna have it, next Monday evening, about 4 o'clock, 4:30, to discuss some of the items that they want to look at in particular throughout all the schools. And then hopefully we may need another week after that, depending upon how next Monday goes. And then we'll hopefully be ready for the May 13th regular committee meeting, open to the public.
Thank you.
For clarification, the shop ventilation, that's the only one we didn't already approve? The other ones we have approved to go ahead with for summer? Okay.
Harry, the meeting on Monday, is that for the public or is that just you
No,
all?
it's just a
It's
committee
for the
meeting.
committee.
Okay.
Just the committee.
All right.
May 13th will be the one for the board members and the public. And I believe that is 6 p.m. Monday, 13th May.
You got it.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Romer. Okay, moving on to finance. Item to approve, letter A. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any questions or concerns?
Just like to inform the board, there is no rate increase in this.
Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to miscellaneous. Items to approve, A through C. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Any questions or concerns? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. There is nothing under old business. Next, we will have courtesy of the floor. Since there's no one here wanting to address the board, we are going to adjourn the meeting, but before we do, I just want to announce that we will have an executive session pertaining to legal and personnel, and afterwards, there will be no other business conducted.
Before you do that, I
Yes.
just want to say thank you to Mr. Valdus.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. Greatly appreciate all of his time and effort here at the middle school. He will be greatly missed. All right, meeting's adjourned.